really, really want to thank Cosmo for this wonderful opportunity. And more than anything, I just want to inspire people with the ideas that I try to talk about and the ideas that I try to champion. And I just want to inspire more people to be vocal. We should normalize being vocal and having your own voice and speaking up about things that matter. When it came to my upbringing, specifically, my parents were very much the type to try to make sure that we wouldn't grow up in a bubble, me and my siblings. They just wanted to make sure that we were incredibly aware of everything going on in our surroundings, about everything going on in the country, everything going on with regards to like current events and things like that, and history, you know. And I think that there's no better way to learn than like to read. And because my parents are both avid readers, they very much encouraged us to be the same. And I think that that's probably where a lot of my curiosity started. You know, I think it always starts with a question, and then from there you go on further, and that's where you get like the drive and the desire to learn more. The number one thing that people often ask me in recent months, siguro, recent weeks, is definitely like, oh, why did you suddenly become so vocal? But the thing that I like to remind people of is, no, I don't think it's that I suddenly became vocal. I think it's that people just suddenly began to listen, which was really interesting to me. And it's so scary because over the last few months, bigla na lang, you know, a lot of my tweets that get a lot of attention are the ones that are politically charged, or the ones that are very opinionated, or the ones that don't necessarily reflect naman all of who I am as a person, but primarily reflect my beliefs, I think. I think when I was smaller, I was still talking about a lot of the same things that I'm talking about now. Because I think that it's very much a Gen Z thing, you know, to use the digital media to really involve yourself in issues that concern the masses or like society and not just yourself. And I think that that's, you know, that's the influence of the digital age. And, you know, I was part of that. I was part of like the kids who grew up with the internet at their fingertips and all of this knowledge being so accessible. Now, people who don't even know me have been seeing my thoughts. And so there's a lot of pressure there because the people that I want to reach are not necessarily those, or the people that I'm most likely to reach, I guess, are the people who don't know as much about it as I do, right? And there's a lot of criticism there from every side, I think. Some of the criticism also comes from like people who are a lot more knowledgeable than I am, which I completely acknowledge naman kasi I'm not naman an expert in anything. I'm just a kid, diba, who kind of reads a lot. And I think that if anything, if I try to raise awareness for a certain cause, it's not targeted towards people who are champions already of those causes, right? Like it's more targeted towards people who are unaware or like who don't really know. Like I try to simplify the things going down now. I want to make it a note of empathy and a thing of principle and not so much politics. So even though I feel the pressure, I think just to remind myself of what I'm trying to achieve pushes me to keep going. Because if I could stop, I guess, but nothing would change then. Like nothing would happen. I think I realized, especially in recent months, how unkind people can really get, because there's like yun nga, diba? Like there's a difference. There's this rising thing where people like think that cancel culture is also toxic. But then on the other side also, there's always been this darker side to the internet where there's people who are willfully destructive. And I think that those people are the ones who you really, really do need to just ignore. And that's so hard. It's so hard when it's repeated and when there's a lot of it. But at the same time, while I wouldn't wish it on anyone, the truth is that I feel like that side of the internet is probably the side of the internet that I've been exposed to the longest. Because I didn't have social media till I was like 15 or 16. But I remember being like 6 or 7 years old and just like watching YouTube videos. Like, you know, when you're a kid and you kind of Google yourself. And there were already people being blatantly mean about the way that I looked. Like, how do you do that to little girls? It's so cruel. Now, it barely bothers me precisely because of that kind of exposure to that. There's a discernment now, I think, happening in the internet and in social media where you have to really pick apart whether or not something is constructive or destructive. When it comes to painful comments like that, the first thing that I remind myself of is the pain that I experience will never ever compare to the injustice that's genuinely out there rampant in the world right now. And that's something that, you know, again, it kind of puts things into perspective, because this might hurt me momentarily, but I'm in a comfortable home. I'm safe. I'm secure. So I need to fight for those who aren't. I think that my perspective can't ever really fully change. It's probably widened a lot more in the last few months because there's really, really deep self-reflection that's been going on, but not just self-reflection. It's like self-reflection in terms of my position in this bigger society. Being in isolation, my only true connection to the real world outside is probably the internet. And because I try to feed myself with that as much as possible, since there are no distractions, it's like real life feels as if it's been paused almost. For me specifically, I know for a lot of people that they can't pause. Yeah, so I think my perspective hasn't necessarily changed. Like, that perspective can never change. I can never break through that bubble. I can never like super fully empathize with people whose experiences I've never personally experienced. But I do believe that the perspective has widened, because even though I'm looking at things from the same angle, it's like I'm seeing more of it every single day. It gives me a lot of hope to be part of this generation, where the biggest problem I think right now on social media is the fact that we hold each other accountable a little too much. Does that make sense? Like, the fact that cancel culture is an issue it actually gives me hope. Like, while it stresses me out a little bit. And yes, it's true that there's so much toxicity, but I think it's very telling also about the youth that literally the thing that gives us stress the most is the fact that we're holding each other accountable. That's really interesting to me, because I guess that gives me hope for as we grow and as we mature and as we hopefully kind of not ease up on each other, but like ease up on things and realize what's really important and realize when it really counts. Like, now more than ever, the youth are really stepping up because we know more and we're better equipped, I think, than any generation was at our age ever in history. In the middle of this pandemic, I feel like looking to the future is the best thing that we can do for ourselves. Looking to the future for positive reinforcement and looking to the future for that hope. If you can't find the hope anywhere around you, kind of look for it in what's to come. Yeah, kindness I think has to take precedence, definitely. And what I mean by kindness is have that empathy towards people. Because kindness is not necessarily always just happiness. It's not always just sugary sweet and goodness. Sometimes the kinder thing to do is to empathize and to critique people who do those things. And if you're able to help, if you're able to reach out, the kinder thing to do is to precisely do just that, because that then becomes your responsibility. Now more than ever, people are kind of trying to get involved, and people are trying to learn more, and people are trying to reach out, and people are trying to be kind. And I just hope that doesn't change post-COVID. The truth is that if your intentions are good and if your intentions are well-meaning, then, like I said earlier, it's so easy to get educated really, really fast. And I think that there are a lot of apprehensions about posting things online and being vocal online, precisely because a lot of people don't really know what they're talking about. There's also always a lot of judgment, during at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement a couple months ago. I think that there was a lot of judgment being thrown around online towards Filipinos who are more concerned with BLM than local issues, right? The thing that people need to kind of understand about that particular situation is that Western media is very, very much pushed online more than anything else, I think. And the thing that's wrong with the internet, I guess, in a little way, is that because Western media is so heavily championed and it's so heavily, I guess there's a bit of colonial mentality in there, diba? That because Western media is like what we pay attention to most, therefore we kind of get lost in their issues with losing sight of what really actually is happening to us here. And I don't blame people for that. And I guess that's my greatest piece of advice for anybody who wants to speak up. It's read up on your stuff. Talk to people who know their stuff. Talk to like-minded people. There's no shame at all in not knowing enough and in not asking questions. It's like you're a kid at school, diba? When your parents say you can ask your teacher questions. And it's the same concept. It's like you might be scared because you don't want people to think that you don't know. But if you don't know, you need to humble yourself and really get to the nitty-gritty of it and just honestly bear it all and ask. Because there's a lot of people out there who are very much willing to teach people all about what's going on around us. I'm excited. So I've been working with Lilac on a fundraiser. Actually, I just want to raise awareness for indigenous people in Mindanao, the Lumad. They really, really, really need our help right now, particularly because as far as I know, as of the latest update, I don't believe that any of them are COVID positive. But that's because they live up in the mountains, diba? And so what happens there is now that they're running out of resources, etc., and things like that, and with the heavy militarization there, they're all at risk. That's what I'll be working on next, definitely. So that's my fundraiser with Lilac that we're BILAC is a foundation for Indigenous women specifically. And the thing about that is because they try to reach so many communities, especially now with the shutdown of ABS, etc. They don't really have access to all the proper information channels that they have. And like sometimes you can only connect with them through Facebook Messenger because one person in the community has Facebook Messenger, and so that's how you reach them. Like that's the thing about them. Precisely because they're isolated, I feel like they just need as much support as we can give them right now. And so I'm hoping to be able to help people channel funds through there, because I feel like not a lot of people know enough about it. Number 2, I'm still reading up more on it, but because my dad's a farmer also, I just also want to raise more awareness about the fact that if our agricultural sector was adequately supported, literally everything will fall into place. Like if our farmers were properly compensated for their work, for their hard labor, that they work harder than anybody else, and now the average age of the Filipino farmer is like 57, 58. So in 10 years, who's going to be farming? Who's going to be feeding us? I'm trying to support more local brands, especially with the pandemic and things like that. I was thinking of compiling a post of just like all local branded stuff that I either bought or they sent me, because I think that, those local brands are the ones that we really need to champion right now. Filipino first, I think, most definitely. I mean, there's so much more I wish I could cover, but I feel like our frontliners right now need to be adequately compensated more than anything, and I can't believe that they haven't been getting the compensation that they deserve. I can't believe that, because that should be first priority. And if anything, also help support local artists as well, not just local but local artists 100%.